You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today we have another special guest for y'all. Today we have Ms. Donna Tashjian, and she is a speaker that does a lot of amazing things. She's been speaking publicly since 1990. She's also she has mastery coach certification, life coaching certification, health coaching certification, and she's also ordained minister. So you know she has a lot of time on her hands. First and foremost, I want to welcome you all the way from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So before we get started on just your life story, man, tell us a little backdrop story of you.
I grew up because of different circumstances in my family, feeling like I was never good enough. And I'm not sure exactly why that happens, but a lot of us can really relate to feeling like we can't really have what we want and we can't really have the dreams that we have. I had a traumatic event happen to me when I was 14. Someone close to our family hurt me and I became pregnant. So I had a little girl at the age of 15. So my childhood is over. And so figuring out to talk about those years and to say they were hard, there's just not strong enough adjectives to describe the shame, embarrassment, overwhelm, fear of the future, really not feeling good enough now, and all of those kind of things that were associated with that event and time period in my life. So that was a rather big one in shaping how I looked at myself. And it took a while to be able to recover and find out what the real truth is. Life has a way of putting, I call them labels on us. We stick stickers on things to try to explain things that have happened to us. And that's okay unless they're limiting, which most of those labels are. They become limiting in being able to achieve my dreams. So I really, at a young adult age, never dreamed I'd be doing what I'm doing today.
I want to go back. When you were 15, did you have a support system that helped you with the situation that you had to deal with at such a young age?
I still lived with my parents, so that was a positive. I want to remind the listeners too, there's a lot of people who don't recognize this, but this was pre-internet, guys. Before cell phones. Yes, I am that old. So my family was a religious family, and the time period that this occurred, teenage pregnancies were a lot less accepted by society. So there was a lot of embarrassment on things about, even though that I had a place to live, I had, food, the baby had all she needed and all of those kind of things. There was just a lot of emotional baggage would be a good word.
And as far as school, I mean, you now have all these challenges compared to probably most of your peers. How were you able to deal with school, education, and balancing also being a mother?
Yeah, I was able to, this was the time period that you didn't go to public school if you were pregnant. And so what I was able to do was, we would call it homeschooling, but in those days it was called correspondence school, meaning you actually mailed your test in. You couldn't download them. You couldn't email them. There was none of that. So I completed paper tests, mailed them to the school. They graded them and they mailed them back. And I graduated before I was 17.
So did you end up going to college, or did you end up just going to work? What was your next chapter after high school?
I needed to work. I needed to get my own place. So by the age of 18, I had my own place. I had a 3-year-old, to give you a picture of that, at the time. And I had got my own apartment, and I was working full time, and I was going to college one night a week, because that was all I could handle, is one class a week. So I was taking evening classes during that period.
Once again, you listen to On Refocus Radio, talking to our special guest, Donna Tashjian. And when you were working in apartments and you mentioned that you were doing college at the same time, were you at all overwhelmed? Because I'm trying to think, like, how are you doing this? Like, either you're Superwoman or you just have...
Yes, there was... I had a really strong exterior face that... and I had an inner determination. I also had a relationship with God. So it's not religion. I had a relationship with God that helped me through that period. And that was where I got a lot of my strength. But I had a determination that I was going to prove everybody wrong. All the things that had been said, all the things that they had whispered about that they didn't think I knew, I was going to prove everybody wrong. And so, yes, overwhelmed. There was times that I struggled to eat. I fed my daughter instead. There was a lot of... I was working full time going to school, and I made $1 too much to get what we would call food stamps, or whatever that's called in the state you live. So I couldn't get any assistance because I was making $1 too much for their stipulations. So that made me mad.
Yeah, I was getting mad right there. I was like, wait, what?
Yep, $1. Now, if I'd have stayed home and quit my job, then they would have paid. But I wasn't going to do that. I wanted to be able to make my own way, and I wanted to grow, and I didn't want to be stuck in the dependency cycle. So that's what I did.
Now, when you were going to college, what major were you going for, and how was that determined as far as your choice, as far as your path?
I didn't end up finishing the college degree that I was shooting for. I ended up meeting my husband, my future husband, and getting married, and we left the state. And so things completely changed. We moved, he was in the military, so we moved to his home state. And so I didn't end up, but I was leaning toward a nursing degree, because all I knew at a very young age, and you have to understand that this was sudden adulthood thrust upon me, is that I wanted to help people. And nursing was one way that I knew women could make a little bit more money to be able to survive. So I wasn't struggling to eat. So that was my plan. And then I met my husband, or future husband, and things shifted at that point. So that was the next phase in my life.
And did you mention he was in military?
Yes, he was.
So when you decided to move on with him, how was that process like, traveling and going to different places?
He got out of the military right as we were dating. So he was in it and then was going to be headed home. He was planning on getting out at that point. So we moved to his home state near his family, where I knew no one. So that's a whole nother story of not knowing anybody and trying to fit in. Him bringing home a girlfriend or future wife, but she's got a daughter too. So there was some adjustment with all of that, but overall it went pretty smoothly. And he has been an incredible part of my healing journey, is my husband. He's an amazing man. We've been married this year, 38 years.
Congratulations. And with that, once you kind of settled starting your life with him, what was the next phase for you? What was your next move? Were you thinking at the time about vibrant living? Because I know you started that, a while back, but were you coaching, mentoring prior? Yeah,
I was involved I had founded a nonprofit organization, and I was working in others, volunteering and things like that. And so we didn't call it coaching then. We would have called it mentoring in those days. And yes, that's been a component of while I was raising my kids, running our business, we had a business, plus he was working full time. I was volunteering and also running my own nonprofit organization, helping people. So that's been a core part of what I did, but none of it was vibrant living is like I was doing things with a shotgun before, and vibrant living is a laser, where it's actually honing in exactly what I love to do and what my sweet spots are to be able to help people transform.
And when you decide that it was time to start and launch Vibrant Living, did anything, any big events happen before the launch date of Vibrant Living that kind of set the tone?
It did. I had knew that my husband and I had a couple businesses, and I knew that there was something more that I was supposed to do. My kids were grown now. I'm a grandmother. Of course, you have to understand, I was a very young grandmother because I was a very young mother. But so I had taken a job at a nonprofit organization thinking it was going to touch that need and desire and passion that I had to help people. And it didn't work out that way. I worked there for a little while and we mutually parted ways. But I had put all my eggs in that basket. And I don't know if you have ever, or someone listening has had that experience where you think something is going to turn out one way and it doesn't. And it is, feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you and you can't catch your breath. And it's just so challenging to handle that level of disappointment. But it was through processing, what am I going to do now, that Vibrant Living was born. It was from a very low place of thinking that, can I really do this? I don't know. Well, what if you fail? And I decided to scream Geronimo and jump anyway. And here we are today.
Man, I wonder how many people are going to do the exact thing and see if it works out for them. But all jokes aside, when you started Vibrant Living, what was it like with your first clients and the process? Did you already map out people that you would reach out to prior, or was it like, let's just go?
The biggest shift was not having clients. It was turning them into volunteering clients to paying clients. Because I had never stopped meeting with people. Since I started in my in my 20s, I've been meeting with women regularly. So I was continuing to do that. So it was honing in on what I really wanted, what was my real passion, and how to shift my mind. My biggest challenge was to shift, what it reminds me of. I don't know if you've ever read the book, The E-Myth, but it reminds me of, it's a story about how we go from loving something to how to turn it into something that is actually creating income for you. And in the book, it's about a woman who loves to bake pies, and everybody kept telling, you need to sell these pies. And then it turns into a job, and how you make that shift from something that you're passionate about to be able to, the thing is when people make an investment in coaching, they get, their results are heightened and transformed, a much exponential possibility than if you just get something for free, because they put themselves into it. So that was the biggest shift for me, and really honing in on who I wanted to help. So it took me a while to, as we call it, niching down to who you really wanted to touch.
And with your personal story, you have, I would say, a fair amount of fear and challenges in your life. How important do you, not how important, but how do you use that story to share with others how they can deal with the personal fears and challenges that they face in their life?
Yes, there is a lot of self-doubt that when we've been through trauma that it brings to us, and fears. And the biggest thing that helped me is this Vibrant Living. When I launched this, it was the first time that I really paid for a coach. I had had mentors, but I hadn't invested personally. And that is what transformed my life, was having a coach that was invested in my success, helping me see my blind spots, because we self-sabotage and don't realize we're doing it because it's just the way we think and we don't know how to change it. So that was the biggest difference for me, is that I invested money in myself, in being the best me I could be. I also went back to school and I have now 3 coaching certifications, and I'm continuing my education so that I can continue to grow and be the best. So I still have a coach today and will continue to do so.
Once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to our special guest today, Donna Tashjian. You can go to her website, iVibrantLiving.com. And you mentioned earlier in the interview the earlier challenges that you had to face. And those are real challenges. Those are situations where you either fold or you pick up from where you left off and you keep pushing. Obvious it was difficult, but you make it look easy. How did you have a positive mindset and positive attitude to keep pushing forward?
Yeah, I had someone say to me when I told them my story, and I got really down and gritty into it, and they said, "Donna, you're a walking miracle." And I thanked them and kind of chuckled as I walked away from them, because I'm like, this miracle was one decision after another decision in those hard places when you want to quit, when you want to give up, when you don't want to believe in yourself, when you're afraid it's all going to fall apart and you're going to fail, all of those kind of things. Is I had those days and moments, but I continued to be resilient and pick myself up. And so you don't have to be perfect. You just have to not quit, is one of the biggest things for me.
I like what you just said moments ago. Hard places where you want to quit. Mm-hmm. But there's something about that, but no, not today.
Yes, but no.
And I think that's awesome, because there's so many different stories out there that someone personally can have the same situation they have to face. They have to make a choice. Do I quit, or I dig deep and see what's left in the tank? And how important is it for someone to, because you mentioned faith, someone to hold on to faith as their anchor, so that they don't allow themselves to just throw in the towel and say, it's not for me?
I don't know. I know that I wouldn't have made it without it. And so I don't know how to imagine life without that strength that comes only from God. Because we have our limits as humans. We can only accomplish so much. So when I wanted to quit, he was the one I talked to. He was the one I would pull strength from. And learning to be able to find the right people to talk to. One of the ways that I tell people to get through these hard places is find someone that you can tell all of what's going on, and that can help you see what you're not seeing, that can help you to be able to look at things from a new perspective. Because a bug in the grass and an eagle in the sky is looking at similar scenery, but seeing things from a completely different perspective. And so learning how to be able to see things differently is something that has been invaluable to me.
Once again, talking to our special guest, Donna Tashjian. Her website, iVibrantLiving.com. You also have a podcast, which is also cool, super cool. You were designed for greatness. I mean, that makes me want to listen to it all the time, because, shoot, who wouldn't want to see that title? Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
The podcast is inspirational. I told someone else on another podcast I was interviewing this morning, is I'm a messenger of hope, that there's always hope. And so the podcast is full of stories, mine and other people's stories, of how they've overcome, how they've risen above situations. And I keep the podcast short. It's about 15 minutes. And so just about any period of time, you can listen to one or two of those in your exercise or when you're driving in your car somewhere. but it is just meant to be an inspiration that we were designed for greatness. God has a plan and purpose for your life. And finding that is one of the man's biggest quest, is why am I here? And how do I do that? Is what one of the biggest questions we have. And so I like to bring hope that it's possible and that you were designed for greatness.
And you also, you're super busy, but like I said, I can't believe that you have another thing that you do. You have a live workshop that's coming up in May 3rd, and it's called Turn Your Baggage into Luggage Live Workshop. So you can live the life you have always dreamed. Do you have someone else speaking for you? You gonna have like a case of water? Because I'm getting tired.
No, I'm doing that myself. I have created Vibrant Living, and at least I'm headed in that direction where I only do what I love, and I have a team that helps me with the rest. So speaking and encouraging people, this is a virtual workshop, so no matter where you are in the world, you can attend. And if the time difference is, I have some people in Australia, the time zone's really difficult for that one, but you can watch the replay. So that's an option too. But it's turn your baggage into luggage so that you can live the life you've always dreamed. And that's coming up on May the 3rd.
Once again, we've been listening to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to our guest, Donna Tashjian, and go to her website, iVibrantLiving.com. In a few minutes that we have left, you look at where you're at today, where you are, and where you used to be. What personally inspires you the most on your life's journey?
I think the two main things is my, as I said, my faith. To me, that is vital. It is part of who I am. And so that is one thing. And being resilient. Don't tell me it can't be done. And then I'll watch me do it. Because I just think that anything is possible and there's always a way.
When it came to the name Vibrant Living, was that an easy discovery for you to name the organization, or was that a process?
It wasn't easy, and it was a process. I have, if you want the story, I don't know how much time we have, but I was at church and we were spending some time encouraging each other. And one of the women said to me, Donna, I really feel like it's a word you need to meditate on, is the word vivacious. Now, when she said it, I kind of made a weird face, like, what? Because I didn't even really understand the full definition of what vivacious meant, but it's basically full of life. It means bubbly and cheerful and enthusiastic and full of life. That's what that word means. And I really believed it was God telling me that this is who I really was, because I didn't really feel like that at that point, because I was still moving through that loss. And so one of the synonyms was vibrant. I figured if I named it Vivacious Living, no one would understand it. And so I used one of the synonyms, and it was Vibrant Living. And it just hits that where you're like, yep, that's it. I know it's it. And that's how it came about.
I want to say thank you, Donna Tashjian, for taking time out of your busy schedule talking to I Am Refocused Radio. And if you could say one last thing to our listeners, what would that be?
When I say you're designed for greatness, people, I think, at least I did, see if you relate, misunderstand what greatness means. And I want to define that. What I mean by you are designed for greatness is you are great when you are 100% you, authentically you. We are not great when we try to compare each other. For example, if you were going to try to be me, you would do a poor job of it. And if I was going to try to be you, I would do a poor job of that too, because I need to be me. I need to do what my gifts are, live with a purpose, live with focus, live with enthusiasm. And so what I would say is don't minimize yourself, and don't minimize what I mean when I say greatness, because you are amazing. And I want you to know that I believe in you, and I would love to talk with you. If you visit my website, you can schedule a complimentary consultation. Come to the workshop. Let me help you be all that you can be.
Man, that was a slam dunk. I mean, all I can say to that is greatness starts with you. So
that's right.
I want to tie in what you said earlier in the show, because it just never left. I think it really hit me. Hard places where you want to quit, put a comma there, continue. So once again,
Absolutely.
I want to thank you, Donna, Tashjian, for talking to us today, and just appreciate your story and everything you represent.
My pleasure.
I Am Refocused Radio is brought to you by Foo 4 Star and Holy Crab. Foo 4 Star is a family-owned Asian restaurant in San Antonio, Texas. We have been a local favorite for Asian cuisine for over 10 years. With nothing but full smiles and fast service, you'll be leaving satisfied. Come on in for some authentic Vietnamese food. Holy Crab is one-of-a-kind Cajun Creole-style seafood restaurant located in Universal City, Texas. We offer traditional seafood items as well as chicken and steak. We also offer seafood boils. Come give us a try. You won't be disappointed. You can find these two eateries in Universal City, Texas at 2921 Pat Booker Road.